Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:47, and a quorum of members is present, so the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District of New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby?
Here.
Mr. Helmer?
Here.
Ms. Konick? Ms. Schultz?
Here.
Mr. Seidel? Ms. Spindler?
Here.
Mr. Zelinski?
Here.
Ms. Konick and Mr. Seidel let me know that they are unable to attend this evening. Then I'd entertain a motion to recess to closed session.
I move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, 1C, E, and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider A, the approval of closed session minutes of January 27th, and B, the employment, performance, and compensation matters pertaining to staff.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Crosby and a second by Mr. Helmer. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby?
Yes.
Mr. Helmer?
Yes.
Ms. Schultz?
Yes.
Ms. Spindler?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
We're moving into closed session, return to open session around 7 o'clock.
too. How are things? Very well. Awesome. So, I appreciate you here. I appreciate you guys for All right. How are you? Good, thank you. Baseball season's right around the corner. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, good. All right. How'd the things roll in? Hello. Hi there.
Oh.
Like, I don't need to, everything's good in your building. Yep.
Now 7:01, and we are returning from closed session into open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For all those who are able, please rise. And now, for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by providing the agenda to the City Library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the Waukesha Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. We'll begin this evening with privilege of the floor, and there is one. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the schools and therefore are not public meetings, but meetings held in public. This portion of the meeting is an opportunity for you to come and voice your concerns to the board, so please do not be offended when we quietly listen. We may even take notes. We do not immediately respond to your questions and comments. This is a time for you to talk to us and us to listen. Thank you for coming to voice your comments and concerns. When I call your name, please step up to the microphone, address the chair, and state your name and whether or not you are a resident in the school district. Each presentation is to be restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. Privilege of the floor will be limited to 1/2 hour. Presentations are not to be designed for purposes of engaging others in a debate in this forum. Discussion of certified, classified, or professional personnel or of individual Board of Education members should not be considered an appropriate topic for this forum, and the speaker will be ruled out of order. Bridget Peterson?
Hello. Good evening, members of the school board. I'm Bridget Peterson. I'm a parent of a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old in the New Berlin School District, and I reside in the city of New Berlin. And I'm here to express my strong support for adding a universal 4K program to our district. When my husband and I chose to buy a home and invest in New Berlin, we did so because the city met our criteria for building a good life. Plus, the school district offered a strong education. Now, the New Berlin School District does not offer 4K in the way that the surrounding community does. I'm not sure we would be able to pick New Berlin now, given our original criteria for a strong education for our future children. And now that we do have children, this is something that is clearly of interest and close to our hearts. Tonight is your chance to remedy that by hopefully approving the universal 4K that's on the agenda tonight. And again, I also want to note that because we have 2 children, I've also now recognized the value of friendships that start early and the community connections that can be forged in those settings during those early childhood years. I'm hard-pressed to say, but likely wherever we send our children for 4K, They will continue their education there instead of returning to the New Berlin School District for for K through 12 instruction. I assume that other families may feel the same due to this feeling that I'm now aware of since I'm a parent. So please consider approving universal 4K tonight. It would mean a lot to ourselves and other parents in this community. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. I do not have any message this evening, so we can move on to the administrative team report.
Yeah, we'll start with the Orchard Lane update. This is the first of our 6-part series of schools presenting to the board. I did want to make note that as per communications that we've sent, we've changed slightly the format of these presentations that will include data that will either be presented in the future or provided to the board in the future, the very near future. So with that, I'll hand it over to the Orchard Lane team.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us here tonight. We're excited to be able to present Orchard Lane to you this evening. A quick little introduction. My name is Royce Linder. I'm the very proud principal at Orchard Lane School. I'm here with Julie Cater, our associate principal, and we're also joined by our second grade team, who you'll actually meet in a little bit as part of our presentation. So when we first started to think about our school and how we would like it presented to you this evening, we're actually going back a year to when the 23-24 school year. Julie and I had gotten together during the summer and kind of realized that one of the things that we felt was really missing from us as a school is a really strong sense of like, what is ultimately our vision and our mission for Orchard Lane. So we got together and we really kind of focused on what that vision was going to be, and it really needed to be 2 parts. It needed to be not just about the preparation for academic success once they leave us, but it was also about those extending those core values to our students as well. So we wanted to make sure that both parts were in there. That led us to like a collective work around our mission, kind of like that purpose for us as a school. And one of the things that we actually talk a lot about is the embedding the community as part of our mission. So our mission really is about what we can do for our students, but ultimately for our community as well.
In addition to the mission and vision, we also decided that we needed to make some commitments. Commitments not only to each other as a school community, but to our students and to our parents, as well as the community surrounding us. So we've worked very hard on these as a staff, and these are the things that we have committed, all of us, to do for our students. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some data that we are extremely proud of. Some highlights so far this year. One thing that we, again, kind of going along with our commitments, we have committed to using our school data better and on a more frequent basis. So we are meeting weekly with our grade level teams to basically look over data, and that data could be our universal screeners to our science unit assessments, to our attendance data, our behavior data, any type of data, and we are consistently and constantly reviewing it, and then we are reacting to that data and how we can actually support our students that might need some support in those areas. When we looked over our data from last year, there were 2 subgroups that we noticed that we needed to make some improvements when it came to reading and our literacy. They are our students with disabilities and our English language learners. And one of the things that we did is, again, kind of as a constantly getting that data in front of us and constantly being responsive to it. And our second grade team is going to talk a little bit more about that in detail of what the teachers are doing within the classrooms. But we are happy to say that with our 2 subgroups, this last winter screener, we have now 66% of our students with disabilities actually increased their winter reading percentile scores, and 67% of our English language learners increased their winter reading percentile scores. Additionally, another highlight for us has been the role of our coaches, our special ed coach, our ELL coach, literacy, math. basically the support that they are offering not only our students, but our teachers, and again, the community as a whole, in order to continue to move our students forward has been exceptional. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our second grade team. We have Carrie Bodak, Ashley Perro, and Becky Becker. These are our 3 grade level classroom teachers. This is one team out of many in our school that they are constantly looking to find solutions and react to the data that they're seeing from the students in their classrooms. So we asked them to come here tonight and just talk a little bit about not only the things they're doing in the classroom in response to this data, but also what we are doing across the school. One other note, these 3 teachers had also last year, knowing how important assessments were and our forward scores, they also volunteered to proctor small groups of students that they had previously had. Sometimes what happens is when you have small groups of students and they're taking assessments, it's kind of nice to have people that they're familiar with instead of, Mrs. Cater just coming in all of a sudden like that and giving them a test. So these 3 teachers also volunteered to help with those assessments as well last year, and they've also volunteered this year because they know it made such a difference. So with that, they're here to talk a little bit about the collaborative work that our teams are doing across the school.
I'm used to speaking to 7- and 8-year-olds, so I'm just going to say that up front. Well, first of all, my name is Becky Becker, and I am happy to be here. We're honored to be here on behalf of Orchard Lane Elementary to share the strategies we in 2nd grade and our teams in the other grade levels are using to support and achieve success with our students at Orchard Lane. We believe that education is a collaborative effort, and we embrace an all-hands-on-deck and it takes a village approach to ensure that every child thrives at Orchard Lane. We'd like to share with you a few ways that we accomplish this. And at Orchard Lane, we believe in building a supportive classroom along with a supportive school-wide community. One of our key strategies is fostering a sense of belonging with our classrooms and in our school. We create a positive start to the day and reinforce social and emotional learning, which is essential for academic success. Our students know that they're in a safe and caring environment, which extends beyond any individual classroom. Our mornings are filled with hugs and high fives and compliments and encouraging words as we greet our students at the door and share interactions with past and future students as they walk past our classrooms. At Orchard Lane, we also value a growth mindset and encourage perseverance. We actively promote these by encouraging students to embrace challenges and view mistakes as learning opportunities. By fostering perseverance and stamina, we teach students the importance of grit, which is helping them to push through difficult and develop some resilience. We emphasize effort over innate ability and celebrate progress to build confidence and motivation. We have a grit team at Orchard Lane of educators, and currently we have pushed out articles on building resilience in children to the staff and to the families. We're also in the process of implementing a grit ticket system that can be given out to students to exhibit perseverance. And that's just a little bit of the social and emotional. And now on to Ashley for some of the data.
Hi, I'm Ashley Perro. So our mid-year data just came out, and it's something we're very proud of. So we just wanted to share with you some of the academic strategies that we believe may have contributed to the gains and the successes of our students. So at Orchard Lane, we are consistently using our student data to inform our instruction and intervention strategies. By analyzing both the formative and summative assessment results and progress monitoring data, we adjust our teaching methods to better meet the needs of our students to ensure their continuous growth. Not only have we been using current data, but we also use data from previous years to help be more proactive when it comes to hitting areas that are typically more challenging for the students. So for example, in CKLA, there's a lot of vocabulary that's taught, and if we notice in previous years something was extra challenging, we'll spend a little more time focusing on it. Our team works really closely with our reading specialists, our English language instructional coach, interventionists, special education teachers, and the other support staff that we have in the building, so that we can give all the students the additional support that they need. We've set aside time specifically each week to meet with each other and discuss the things that the students need so that we're on the same page for those, for our students. And through the regular collaboration, we develop individualized strategies that will address their specific learning needs and promote overall student growth. We'll set goals, prioritize learning objectives, and make adjustments and modifications when needed. We also collaborate with our student learning assistants, who will play a very large role in implementing learning plans and strategies with many of our students, while the teachers are supporting some of our struggling students in Tier 1 and Tier 3 interventions. Something else we're doing with is, we always recognize that students learn differently, so we utilize small group instructions to meet the students where they are. We do that by differentiating our lessons. We provide targeted support for struggling learners while trying to challenge the students who are ready for a little bit more of an advancement. This year at Orchard Lane, we've put a priority on meeting with our neediest students during our independent reading block multiple times a week, in addition to any tiered intervention they might be receiving. We offer alternative assessment settings, such as one-on-one or small group administration, to create more of a comfortable and focused testing environment, which can reduce their anxiety and help with their performance. Some of our students, just by simply having them read their test out loud as they're doing it to themselves, can make a huge difference. It helps them slow down and think about what they're doing, and not to rush. And then to help the students become more confident, prepared for assessments, we do also explicitly teach test-taking strategies, things like reading the directions carefully, eliminating incorrect answers, using context clues, and checking work before submitting it. And by practicing those things in daily work in a low-stakes environment, it helps them develop confidence and strategies they need when they're taking those formal testing situations.
And finally, I am Carrie Bodek, second grade at Orchard Lane. And to continue on, again, based on the data, all of the things that we do is based on what we're seeing in classroom, whether formative or summative assessments. But one of the things that we do is to combat fatigue and maximize retention with our students, we try to incorporate repeated practice within short bursts within the daytime. So, for example, strategies that get reinforced while learning quickly, they're preventing burnout. For example, we have morning work, which is work that students do when they first arrive to school while they're waiting for all of the peers to arrive. They might sit down and do a few short problems. We'll take the learned content and ensure that students consistently revisit and reinforce skills before we start new lessons with them. Another example of something that we might do in a shorter burst would be as simple as if I'm doing attendance, I'm asking the students to count by tens, starting with the number 36. Just repeated practice of strategies that we're doing consistently throughout the day. We may have them practice math facts or the old school ways, like doing all your +2s first, and when you master those, go on to your +3s. So that when it comes to computation, when they know those, we can eliminate some errors there. We've also been working on spending time with quick minute bursts of focusing on quick reading to increase fluency, and also to work on the high frequency words that we have. In addition, students work on individual learning plans in the areas of math and reading with the help of the ALEX and/or Redbird and Boost learning apps that have been provided with our ELA and math curriculum. Their students can gain confidence with repeated practice in a fun and engaging way through the use of technology, which they're very excited to partake in. In addition to the current curriculum, we supplement instruction by introducing future content in manageable increments, and this approach familiarizes students with upcoming concepts, making new material seem less intimidating when it's formally introduced. Repeated exposure to learned material, such as through this morning work or math talks, quick checks, and exit tickets, deepens their understanding and retention. For example, although concepts in time and money don't show up in second grade until mid to late February, we introduce this in small bursts early and often, starting in the beginning of the year, so that students have more familiar practice with it. In addition, we also incorporate parental and caregiver involvement. Our learning extends beyond the classroom, which is why we actively involve parents and caregivers. We provide additional materials and additional strategies that parents and caregivers can use at home to reinforce the learning. We push out our texts that we're reading in school, our vocabulary that we're introducing, as well as our video for the content that we're teaching through our Canvas platform. And in addition, the district has done a great job of hosting family literacy nights and inviting guest speakers. And really, in conclusion, at Orchard Lane, we're committed to providing a supportive and engaging learning environment for our students. And our It Takes a Village approach has allowed us to work collaboratively with students and staff and parents and caregivers to ensure that every child reaches their full potential. And we very much appreciate your time and your support in helping us continue these efforts to make lasting impacts on the success of our students. Thank you.
Thank you so much, second grade. Lastly, we just want to share with you a little bit of an update on one of the areas of growth that we identified this summer. So one of the areas of growth that we identified when we were studying our data was we took a close look at our math data. We really noticed that there were some things that didn't quite sit right with us when it came to like automaticity, math facts, especially in our upper grades when like multiplication, division were really starting to become introduced as to part of like the expectation for what those students would know. And so we actually noticed that coming out of spring of '24, we had about 66% of our students were either at or above benchmark when it came to math automaticity in grades 4 through 6. And we didn't necessarily think that that's where we wanted to be, especially when we took a look at like our other 3 schools, and they were averaging 78% of those students in the same test being at or above benchmark. So we really made a concerted effort to come into this year saying, this is something we're going to really attack, and this is something that we're going to put some actionable steps around. We brought in a program called Rocket Math, which was actually a little bit of, it's almost like a low-tech way to kind of get back at like some math facts. So through a systematic like series of like introduction of multiplication and division facts as students progress, new facts are introduced. So they're not trying to take all of them on at once, but they're introduced in a way that's actually like programmed out. Between that, some of the digital resources that are personalized that you heard Carrie talk a little bit about through our math programming, such as Redbird and Alex, the utilization of those 2 programs is up tremendously from last year. We're up nearly 70% for grades K2 and Redbird for usage, and we're up about 45% in Alex, which is, again, that personalized math program in grades 3 through 6. So a lot of that, has led to like a look back at our winter scores. So our winter scores for grades 4 through 6, when it comes to math automaticity, we're up to 81% of our students being at or above benchmark, which is, we're really excited about that and certainly hope that it continues going into the spring. Lastly, we heard Julie talk a little bit about the role of the coaches. We have a new coach joining us this year across our elementary schools, Jackie Ziegler, in the math coaching role. She's been tremendous. She's kind of helped us really kind of take on this math goal for us as a school through data analysis, through things like creating Alex programs that help our students prepare in areas that we know are going to be like really targeted when it comes to forward assessments in areas where we may not be scoring where we want to be scoring yet, but really using those programs to help prepare students in the best way possible. So with that, I'd like to offer any questions for our team. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Superintendent update or student?
Thank you, teachers. You've had a long day. Feel free to move on out.
Thank you for coming.
I'll defer my update for the items on the agenda, and I'll hand it over to Oliver, your New Berlin West rep.
Good evening. I hope everyone had a great weekend. As juniors are preparing for the state ACT, New Berlin West has been preparing them with specialized advisory lessons every week to build our knowledge and skills for the statewide test. A huge congratulations to our New Berlin West teacher, Senorita Santiago, who was selected to participate in the Global Curriculum Development Program at the University of Puerto Rico, where they are creating Spanish curriculum for the U.S. Department of Education. In classes, AP Bio students got the amazing opportunity to splice and modify E. coli cells to make them glow in the dark. Students in Applied Retail and Operations Management gathered data based on student surveys to put drinks and snacks into the student-run Vern's Village. This helped them understand the value of customer feedback. Members in personal finance competed to see how much money they could make on a mock stock market, which shows the power of investing. And choir students are practicing their tunes as they prepare to deliver singing valentines that were bought and sent by others in our school. We're also celebrating our club's achievements. 19 members of Educators Rising are going to the state summit at UW Stevens Point. These members will learn more about teaching through workshops and keynote speakers. 18 members of New Berlin West DECA are preparing for the state competition later this month in Lake Geneva. El Sol celebrated 498 hours of service that its members volunteered throughout our community. National Honor Society made Valentine cards for senior citizens that are preparing for their upcoming Valentine's Day themed blood drive. Last Friday was the opening day for the play The Addams Family, which was presented by MBW players. They're also doing this play next Friday and Saturday. Our sports team have also been having great seasons. Boys basketball have been doing fantastic and play Pewaukee tomorrow at 7 p.m., coming off of an 8-game winning streak. Both boys and girls wrestling are preparing not only for the division championship, but state later this month. And a huge shout out goes to the New Berlin West Palms team, who defended their state championship title for D2 hip hop last weekend. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. So next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes the notice, the approval of the minutes of the board meeting on January 27th, the Anoka Engineering Machine Design Contest field trip application. We also have 3 resolutions. A resolution authorizing the issuance of an order in support of WAWM citizen petition to alter school district boundaries for Lowman. There's also one for Fearson and Romero, and another for Moling. Now, since these are resolutions authorizing the issuance of an order in support of this citizen petition, this also includes an opportunity for a hearing. So is anybody present today that wishes to speak in regards to these resolutions? Please come forward and state your name and where you live.
Okay.
And we'll give, I think they get 3 minutes too, or is it full?
Oh, well,
Basically, it's the same type of a situation when we do our public comments, so
Okay.
go ahead, thank you.
Sounds good. I'm Jeff Borelli. Nice to be here and nice to hear about all the nice things going on at Orchard Lane, and hopefully we'll be able to experience those soon. We have a petition I'm working with Romero and Fearson. They are actually at the West Dallas meeting right now that are taking on the 2 other detachment petitions, and we are scheduled to be up over there on the 24th of February. We have a presentation set up with them so that we will go through the 7 points as outlined in the DPI standards so that we can address the distance traveled, the school stats. It'll be a contiguous redistricting so that there's no islands or anything. It's 134 homes. We've gotten 80% of those signatures with only 5% declining to sign, and the rest falling in the no answer territory. So look forward to hearing this, to having this pass. And we're excited about switching over to this school district as New Berlin residents. We want to be part of New Berlin. It's kind of tough in our neighborhood to see the few kids that are there and not know whether they go to our kids' school or not, and recognize that, you know, we've got a chance, an opportunity to go to a superior school district, and intend to present that to West Allis in a couple weeks, and then whoever else needs to hear it, should they not accept at that time. So thank you for your time, and I think that should do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You bet.
We do recommend approval of the resolutions as they've been presented. Please note that we have, you know, a substantial request, similar to what we've had in the past and has been approved. What typically happens is, you know, assuming that the board will approve, as they have in the past, said resolutions, should the West Allis, West Milwaukee decide to decline that, there is an appeal process to DPI before I think a group of 3 individuals. I do know that the large group that detached a couple years ago, that ended up winning the appeal, and so therefore we were granted that, those families were granted access to become a part of the school district of New Berlin. I do know that the one loan request last year that the board approved here was denied by West Allis, West Milwaukee, went to appeal, and that was denied at the appeal level. So I just wanted to let the board know that those are the next steps, but you never know what the outcomes will be until it occurs. So that is unless West Allis, West Milwaukee decides to approve it, and then we'll all move forward, which is not likely, but.
Okay, so this is a consent agenda, which means we can vote on everything under this all at once, but are there any items that should be pulled out for separate consideration? Okay, then hearing none, all those wait, I need a motion. I need a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, so I have a motion by Ms. Crosby, a second by Mr. Why is, say it again. Zelinski, I know that, I know it's with the Z. To approve the consent agenda as presented, any discussion?
I guess my only question would be, do we have to approve these person by person, or can they do it like a block at a time, or how does that work?
It depends on how it's, you know, we would recommend approval of them all at once per the consent agenda, but.
No, I just meant like if people want to come forward afterwards, like, do we approve more, or how does, like, or is that resolution cover everybody in that area?
No, not everybody in the area, just those that are part of the petition itself.
Okay, so as new people come with the petition, we approve those people then?
We would recommend approval, yes.
So basically, you could have, you know, a row of 4 houses and one house right in the middle would not be part of our school district?
They
but
could
be-
choose to do that.
Okay.
You know, the other thing that I do want to mention, and something to mention to the gentleman that was here, is, you know, I know from the one big block that was approved 2 years ago, some of those families signed the petition, but then chose to keep their kids in West Allis, West Milwaukee. They can do that through the open enrollment process. So, you know, that may be something for, you know, those families that are choosing not to sign the petition to know that they have the option to keep their kids if they choose to keep them in West Allis, West Milwaukee. But again, it's kind of, as they develop these petitions is how we determine whether we move forward or
So
not.
it's interesting. So basically, a family could keep their children in West Allis, West Milwaukee, but if they sold the home would be, if the new owners, if they wanted to go to New Berlin, that would be their school district unless they also.
That is
open
correct.
rolled out. Okay. Oh, okay.
So they all can only stay in West Allis, West Milwaukee as long as they were originally enrolled there, correct?
Well, they always have the option to open enroll out as well,
Yeah.
anytime.
But open enrollment doesn't always work in getting into a district. Right? Because we don't have open enrollment.
Not always, not always. You're right.
Any more discussion? You ready to vote? Then all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. The regular agenda, first, is to discuss approve the financial statement audit for fiscal year ended June 30th of 2024.
I'd like to introduce Paul Franz up from Baker Tilly to share an overview of the last year's audit.
Thank you. Again, Paul Franz goes either way. I'm an audit partner with Baker Tilly. This was Baker Tilly's first year in working with the district. Happy to say that the process went very smooth. Patrick, Crystal, and their support team were nothing but cooperative and had all necessary information available to us when we began the audit. We completed, and I believe in your packet, you have 3 documents. One is the financial statement audit. One is the single audit, so because the district receives more than $750,000 of federal grant dollars and spends it within that fiscal year, you're required to have a federal and state single audit, so we've completed that for you. And then lastly, an auditor communication letter, which summarizes our responsibilities, management's responsibilities, and the type of things that we accomplished during the course of the audit. Happy to report that we've issued an unmodified opinion, also known as a clean bill of health. So ultimately, the outcome that you look to hear when you hire an external auditor. What that clean opinion tells you is that within all those necessary reports that we've issued, all necessary disclosures have been made, all accounting principles have been applied consistently year over year, and that the documents are free of material misstatement. Related to the single audit, there were no compliance findings in the major programs that we tested. Again, so nothing but good news on that front. In the main operating fund of the district, the general fund, we have about $59 million of expenditures in that fund, including your supporting transfer to the special education fund of about $5.9 million in that $59 million. Why I like to look at that number is your fund balance in the general fund, which is the reserves of your operating fund, just below $20 million. And that category of fund balance is broken out into a number of different categories for you. And the one I'd like to point to is unassigned fund balance. It's about $17.5 million last year. That is truly the savings account of the general fund. I like to take that $17.5 million number and divide it by that $59 million total expenses to see kind of what do you have on hand in your savings account. Like that percentage to be somewhere between 10 to 25%, and the district's at 30%. So in short, besides all the great news I shared on the audit, you're also in strong financial position in your main operating fund. Lastly, we had no material journal entries identified during the course of the audit. And what that tells me as your auditor that I like to share with you is that you're getting good financial data from your management team throughout the year to rely on in support the decisions that you're making. So again, nothing but great news. It was a privilege to begin the relationship, and with that, I'll pass it over to Pat if he's got any additional things that he'd like. Otherwise, I'd take any questions that you have for me.
Questions from the board? Thank you.
Okay, guess not.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Patrick, did you have anything to add?
Just wanted to thank Paul and his team. We were kind of left in a bad spot last year when our auditors decided to drop 2 school districts in southeastern Wisconsin. We were one of them. They were the only firm that were willing to pick us up at that late hour, and it's been a terrific relationship. By the way, our audit firm from last year dropped the rest of their clients this year, so it wasn't necessarily the way we would have written it up, but it was a great transition to a great new relationship.
Okay, then do I have a motion to approve the financial statement audit for fiscal year ended June 30th of 2024?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Ms. Crosby to approve. Any discussion? Then all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion approved. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Then we have our discuss approve the universal K-4 programming to begin in the 2025-2026 school year.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through the same presentation that I went through last time. There are some things that I do want to just bring back to you as a reminder. Why now? You kind of heard Royce and the Orchard Lane team talk about the areas that we believe we need areas for growth, specifically in our subgroup populations, our English language learners, those that are economically disadvantaged, and students with disabilities. Those subgroups are actually growing and are on the high end in Waukesha County. We do believe that the K-4 programming, based on the information that we've gotten from other districts that currently do utilize K-4, that this will be a benefit to all students and as well as those kids in those subgroups. I'm just kind of scrolling through. Again, we've done our due diligence. We have not only surveyed other Waukesha County school districts that have K-4 programs, we also did some site visits, and we've determined the feasibility of it. And then given this, we are recommending that the school board approve a universal K-4 program. A couple of the questions that were brought up at the last meeting that I just wanted to circle back on was, what is the percentage of students utilizing wraparound care? That was an interesting question. I think, Mitch, you raised that. We're looking at about 50%, but the one question that we didn't get answered, I thought that was surprisingly low, was, and we asked the question, but we didn't get a lot of information back, is that only because that is the capacity of the wraparound care within those schools? And I think that that's the case. So we do think that percentage would be higher, but that's obviously to be determined. And then as a reminder, we are working with 2 outside agencies, outside groups, third parties, to administer our wraparound care. And we hope to have that solidified, depending on what the board's decision is tonight, hopefully later this week, and we'll keep the board posted as needed. The other question that was brought up, which was a really good question, is how do you determine whether a family is a morning, if we do a half-day program, which we are recommending, and as a reminder, all of Waukesha County K-4 programs are half-day programs. But, how do we, justify who's in the morning, who's in the afternoon? We will be asking, as part of the registration process, a preference, but there is no guarantee. At the end of the day, we want to be able to work around parents' preferences because we want them to utilize the program if it's there. Obviously, geography will play a part in whether or not that'll, who gets what. But at the end of the day, it's also going to be based on student need. We will try our best to accommodate, but again, there is no guarantee, and that's very similar to what many other districts do as well in Waukesha County. Those were the big questions that were kind of left unanswered for the board at the last meeting, and we're happy to answer any additional questions at this time. This slide here, just next steps. We do believe we have a really good idea of what we're going to do with our curriculum. Obviously, we would start in the hiring process, we would solidify the logistics, and then we would execute a communication plan that we have at the ready at this time. Any questions from the board? Otherwise, again, we are recommending approval of the K-4 program as presented.
Is it more like a debate among us, or is it clarification? Okay, go ahead.
I guess, do you have timing around those next steps? Do you have an idea of when communication will go out? And
I'm sorry, Amy, I didn't hear that.
do you have
I've got it.
timing with those next steps?
Yep.
Any time frame you'd put on those?
Yes, all of them, we believe we can accomplish it, solidifying the registration process that we have a meeting tomorrow on that with Allison Thompson, who's basically in charge of our Infinite Campus and our registration processes. And we're looking to solidify those, but we do believe, Dave, what would you say, within the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, it would start within the next 2 weeks, but it would go on yeah, as soon as a decision is made, we'll have a lot of pieces ready to go and get going.
Any other questions?
We talked before about it being at Elmwood as well as Reagan, and I don't think we solidified that. Is that going to be determined by the number of students that you'd make that determination? Or are you guys still waiting to decide class sizes and numbers and everything else to figure that out?
Yeah, I do. Patrick, can you respond to that? As I understand it, I thought we were looking at 4 sections. I'm sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
Right now, we have, assuming we have the capacity for up to 5 sections at Ronald Reagan and up to 2 sections at Elmwood.
Okay, but if there was only 5 or 4, then you'd keep everyone at Reagan? Is that the plan?
Probably not. I mean, assuming that we're going to have some students that are going to be on the end of, towards Elmwood, we would most likely have at least 1 section there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and then I think at that point, registrations would drive that. And then I do want to just clarify too, just finally, is that this is going to be, as far as the finances go, there is no downside. Whether the program, we're anticipating about 80%. If it comes in at 70% or 60% or even 40%, we do believe that this will be financially beneficial for the district as well.
The first year we got a large grant.
Yes.
Is that based on the number of students? So is it every student we get X amount of more dollars? Or is it just because we're doing the offering, we get a set amount based on our size of our city, or how does that work?
No, it's based on the number of students that enroll.
Okay, so if we only get 40% in the first year, and then next year we went up to 80%, we'd be losing out on a bunch of funding based on that?
We would lose out on some funding in the first year, but again, we would also, if we only get 40% of the students that we anticipated, we're only going to have 40% of the expenses as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, good question.
Any questions? Okay, then I have some questions. Just some assurances on space. As we're looking to the future, no, I'm asking you a question about space. This is not debating you guys yet. No. Thank you for reminding me, just in case. No. Just looking ahead to the future, what if we have an increase in enrollment in general, and what happens to our 4K program if there's not space for them? Because I'm sure you're probably aware, there's 2 multifamily developments being proposed right now. One on Moreland and Greenfield, and another on Moreland and College, on 2 ends of our city.
Right.
The one would go to Poplar Creek, and the other one would go to Ronald Reagan, even though it is closer to Elmwood. I mean, what if we suddenly have an influx of students? What are your thoughts going forward? I just want to make sure that this is all thought out.
Yeah, we do have capacity. So, for example, we've also thought about, if we were to assume all of the West Dallas, West Milwaukee portion of New Berlin, we believe we have capacity at Orchard Lane. As of right now, we've been talking to the city, and we're actually invited to each of the hearings for the city developments. I am not optimistic at all, while the developer may be, that the development on the Moreland and College, that's not zoned for residential. It's actually zoned industrial. That would take a long process, and it's not part of the city 10-year plan either. So I'm not optimistic, but we do believe, we would oppose that as well, just because it's not part of the city master plan. We do believe that on the other end, on Moreland, we do believe that is going forward. We do have the option, because of where it's located, to determine where those students would go. Because it's on the northernmost part of Poplar Creek and Orchard Lane, where we could actually split that, depending on how many kids were coming out of there, have it go one way or the other. So yes, we are prepared for that, along with saying we have 100% of eligible kids come to K4. We are prepared for that as well. I do want to let the board know too that we are also in the process of future planning for space. Obviously, we don't have the financial capacity at this time to be doing a lot of different things, but, you know, based on the forecast that we'll be presenting next, you know that a lot of that debt within the operating budget falls off in 2030, and so that certainly opens up possibilities for the district to do something different at that point as well. So we are certainly prepared for that. We do believe we have the capacity to handle all the different things that are happening around the city, the things like the West Dallas, West Milwaukee detachment pieces, and K4.
Now, we are missing 2 members this evening. Do we still want to move forward with the vote? So if you are, go ahead and make a motion.
I move to approve the universal K4 programming to begin in the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Ms. Crosby and a second by Mr. Helmer to approve the universal K4 programming to begin in the 2025-2026 school year. Any discussion?
Quick question on that second development on the north side. How many units is that, do you know offhand?
I don't offhand,
I'm guessing it's smaller than the one on the south side?
yes.
Okay.
And that development up there is much more than just a residential development. It's kind of like the new boutique thing, where you've got housing, retail, restaurants, all kind of being part of that, so it's not all housing. I can get back to you on that information, but we have been in talks with the city on that, and again, we are in support of that.
And that one looks like you said it's moving forward?
Pardon me?
And that one looks like it's moving forward?
We do believe that it would.
Okay.
And it's in a much different process, part of the process with the city, than the other one on the other end. And again, zoning playing a substantial part of that.
Any other comments, discussion? No? None?
One
Come
more.
on. No, I'm sorry. Say something, let's hear you.
We talked before about wraparound. What is our current wraparound usage for our kids? I know we only have 2 classes probably for 3K and 2 classes for 4K.
Matt, do you know offhand?
No, I don't, but I could get that number to you.
Okay.
I can figure it out.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're only asking questions, you don't have any? No, no.
No, we don't.
Well, I'm surprised that nobody's gonna do any, I know that the 2 that aren't here this evening were not 100%, so I just like to hear a little debate, so there's nobody here that's going to do any challenging. I guess because I've not been 100% on board with 4K, but I will say that, I mean, we got to be competitive in the district. I mean, I know our person who came from the community mentioned it, so I mean, that's what's compelling me. And then we are seeing some more economically disadvantaged in the district, and so this would be helpful as far as academically. But otherwise, I've not been a big fan of adding 4K because I didn't think in the long term it actually is helpful, and I'm concerned about, I mean, it's going to increase the levy, I mean, right? I mean, it's still
It
going to
is.
increase taxes. And I'm just afraid that people haven't heard enough about this in the community, which is the only reason why I thought about delaying the vote, to get more. So I hate for this to pass and then people be upset they hadn't heard about it, so. Go ahead, if you disagree with me, I want you to challenge me, go ahead.
If we postponed it till next meeting, would that still give you guys enough time to get your messaging out? Because what my concern is that we vote for it, we do it, and then we get like a 30% turnout and we miss the grant money. And I get,
Yeah.
the expenses would be lower, but it's a one-time grant money that we would miss out on. So that is my concern with doing it and doing it too late or not
Yeah.
doing it properly.
Yeah, we would appreciate a decision tonight because 2 weeks in planning is a long time.
Okay, then everybody who's ready to vote? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. We're going to have 4K next year. All right. Then we have discuss approve the budget forecast option 4.
Well, we actually are down to actually two options, because now that the K-4 program has been approved, we can set aside options 1 and 2. What we're asking the board to approve tonight is actually the proposed budget forecast option 4. The difference between option 3 and 4, option 3, the major difference is we are again, the board has asked us to set aside at least $1.2 million annually in Fund 41. Fund 41 is for capital projects to support our long-range facilities plan. We believe that if you choose option 4, doing a one-time drawdown of our fund balance versus a year-to-year-to-year drawdown of fund balance, which is option 3, that it will mitigate the tax impact on our local property taxpayers. As you can see, the difference between 3 and 4, really not much. If you look at option 3, you end up with again, you can see that drawdown at once. Mitch, we did clear the numbers up. It was all in on the back end of the software that we just wanted to make sure that the numbers were exact. As we had presented last time, they were slightly different. But again, you end up drawing down a healthy fund balance at the end. But then you can see, though, that with option 4, you do end up with just a slightly higher fund balance at the end. And again, we do believe it'll mitigate the impact on our taxpayers. I just want to clarify the other additional piece that we're assuming in both options 3 and 4 is that additionally to what we have here, we do believe we can absorb an additional $2 million for the outdoor facilities to do a match for fundraising as well. And again, we would do that as we know more about the feasibility study and the wellness screen, which is yet to come back for the board.
That's not considered in here, right?
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
But really, we just want to, do I need a decision tonight? Not necessarily, but we would like it for planning purposes.
Where is it? Is it motion to discuss and approve budget forecast option 4? Well, just budget forecast options.
Option number 4.
I do want to clarify also that this does not, the board still has to approve next year's budget, during the budget season.
Right.
So this is the plan, right? So you're
This
approving
helps
our
you plan,
planning.
right?
So we could still reverse course
You can,
in 2 months, okay.
yeah.
So,
But at least, now we know as we head into next year's budget, we'll remind the board that this is we're building the budget based on the forecast that the board had previously approved. Or we'll come to you and say, hey, change your plans with the budget, and we need to do something different.
would anyone be in favor of voting to give direction to head this way? What I don't want to do is commit and then not
Okay.
have them be part of that vote.
So you'd like to amend, now you did the motion,
Yeah,
so you.
I'd have to amend or you can offer a friendly.
Okay, should I just do offer a friendly amendment? Instead of it being to approve budget forecast option 4, it would be, how would you put it again?
For you guys to proceed that path.
Recommend.
Yeah, to recommend that you guys proceed with planning purposes
Okay.
of option 4.
Oh, there was another way to, I thought you said it a different way a minute ago. So we're approving proceeding with the recommendation of option 4. Is that how you want it said?
Sure.
For planning purposes.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
I just don't
Okay.
feel comfortable.
Yeah, 'cause I-
voting for $5 million.
I
to go
agree,
that
I
way.
agree with you, because that actually seeing it the way we did it, it sounded much more solid, like, this is it. And that made more sense, because we're giving you direction. All right, so it's been amended, since it was your motion. Does Amy you need a second again from Amy?
Let's just get one.
Let's
just
get
do it.
one.
I forget, we haven't done an amendment in a while, so, actually,
It doesn't hurt if you get the second.
oh, let's see, amend. You require a second, yes, you can
Yes,
debate the
yes.
amendment, okay.
I need a majority.
All right, any more discussion on this amendment? None? Okay, then all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. And then we have the board meeting calendar. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, a second by Ms. Crosby, to approve the 2025-26 board meeting calendar. Is there any discussion? I noticed that November only had one meeting, which is a little unusual. I forgot to look at the calendar to see how that laid out. I'm just thinking we might need another one in November, being that, yeah. Okay, I'll give you the heads up. We might add one in November, just because it's your evaluation time and end of the year with stuff going on, just in case. I'll try to work it out, well, if I'm still the president. But whoever's president, I'll help you try to work it out, that we get it done before then, and so we don't need a meeting. But just a heads up, we might still need a meeting. Okay, so any other discussion? None? Then all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. And we had one motion from closed session.
I move to improve the employment services report as presented.
I have a motion by Ms. Spindler and a second by Ms. Crosby to approve the employment service report as presented. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Then we have our future meetings and dates. Board meetings are generally held the second and fourth Mondays beginning at 7:00 PM in Conference Room E, which is here, at district offices unless noted otherwise. We have February 24th, then March 10th, and March 17th. Other important events and dates is that February 17th is a staff professional learning day. There is no school. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, second by Ms. Crosby to adjourn. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes.